What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Last week, we talked about how it was going to be a very straightforward day for Bitcoin in the sense that you're just going to retrace back into this order block and then you're going to, just pump and, just target for a 2R, and that's going to be super straightforward. And yeah, that's exactly what happened last week. You retraced back into the order block, spent a little bit extra time within the order block, right here. And then eventually, yep, boom, take out the high and boom, that's a 2R. So that's going to be the 91st win out of the last 112 videos that I've made. This is when I've started, publicly tracking this. And yeah, to those of you that are new to the channel, just understand that you're probably at the right place because we tend to be right more often than we're wrong. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to get into kind of the long-term implications of Bitcoin. How long is the bull market, or rather the alt season, is going to last? Because I think you guys are starting to see it now. Things are starting to pump. I'm going to get into a little bit of swing trading. And most importantly, I'm going to give you guys the intraday setup. So without any further ado, yeah, let's just dive right into it. So taking a look at the weekly chart, because this is the start of a new week, they have a fun situation going on. So this is initially the February gap that we drew out about 3 weeks ago. We were anticipating the price to retrace into this February gap and then to ultimately pump out of there. And initially we thought that it would happen on this candle right here. We expected this candle to pump because you came into the February gap right here and you started showing a bullish reaction. Sadly, that did not happen, and you ended up retracing instead. But now that we have a proper move at the end of last week, like just pumping out of that February gap, I think that's the sign that we've been looking for. Because after spending extended time within the February gap, you're now showing bullish reactions and you're going out of it. So basically, for the swing traders out there, you had 3 entire weeks to jump into a swing trade, because I've been calling that on these videos. Literally two to three times a week, I would mention it like, hey, this block here is unlikely to get broken. And, if you're a swing trader, this is going to be the best, kind of time to get into Bitcoin. So to those of you who actually took advantage of that, congratulations. You're probably up like 10 Gs right now. But to those of you who didn't take advantage of this situation, here's going to be your new entry. So assuming this week's candle closes above here, which I think it's very likely that we make a new all-time high this week, which also means that this candle should theoretically, most likely, more likely than not, close above this level right here at exactly 119,400. If you close above, this is going to become your new order block basically. And you want to look for a retrace into this bullish order block and to, just form new highs basically. And so for the swing traders out there, this is going to be your second opportunity, potentially the last opportunity to get Bitcoin at like sub 120K basically. So that's $119,000 to about $117,000. We're going to break this down like further. Now we're going to refine this as we go into the lower time frames, but just understand that on the weekly chart, you are looking incredibly bullish. Last week's candle closed really bullish as well after filling in a bullish February gap on the weekly chart, which means that more likely than not, the bias for this week is going to be super bullish. Now, before I get into the lower time frames, I think it's really important to look at what type of news that we have throughout the week so that we can come up with a reasonable power of 3 kind of prediction for the week. And immediately we can see that in terms of USD rent news, we have news on Tuesday, we have news on Thursday, and we have news on Friday. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because news days tends to be the highest probability trading days. Like, a lot of people learn a lot about technical analysis. Like, you may know the inside outs of what makes a February gap, or an order block or whatever. You may know ICT concepts like inside out, but it doesn't really matter if you only focus on the behavior of price basically, because the market has an element of timing to it. There is a reason why sometimes your order blocks don't seem to work well. And then there are some times where the order blocks are super clean. That has to do with timing. It's not just about the behavior of price, it is the behavior of price at certain times of the day, or in this case, also certain times of the month or week or whatever. I'm not going to dive too deep into that rabbit hole, but just understand that timing plays a huge factor in how cleanly price is going to move and how much price is going to move. And in this case, we're going to want to focus our trading days on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, because that is when we have news. That is when things are going to happen much cleaner, which means today and Wednesday, we want to take into account that they're going to be a little bit lower probability in terms of the movements that we're going to get, and we're going to act accordingly. Besides that, another thing that we can identify just from understanding the weekly bias is that because our weekly bias is towards the upside, and if you understand anything about power of 3, you understand that ideally, the best buying opportunities, if you have a bullish bias, is, for example, in last week, this is the weekly open. You ideally want to look to buy below the weekly open so that you can ride the true expansion and then take your profit and then that will be the weekly close. Similarly, if you're short for the week, you want to look to sell above the weekly open. That is very likely going to be the high of the week. And then you want to ride the expansion down, and then you want to sell before the week closes because you tend to have a little bit of a retracement. Same thing here, right? Bullish week, you want to buy underneath the weekly open and then ride the true expansion, and then that will be the weekly close. So this week is pretty similar. We already had a tiny bit of a retracement, but just understand that because news is only on tomorrow, today could just be a kind of retracement day, although like it doesn't look like it at the moment. But in the event where you get a retracement below the weekly open, which at the moment is 119,200, again, lines up with that order block right there. If you get a retracement underneath the weekly open into some kind of PD array, which I'm going to show you now on the daily chart, then that is going to be like very likely the bottom of the week. And this is where you, like, if you're a day trader or a short-term trader, this is where you jump into positions and ride the move to either a new all-time high or back to the current all-time high. So speaking about the lower timeframes, let's talk about the daily chart real quick. So this used to be a bearish order block that potentially could have been resistance for Bitcoin. Since yesterday, we have had a couple of very explosive moves breaking right through that bearish order block. And so this is a really good sign, because now the way that we can utilize this information is in the event that we retrace back into this zone, you can potentially flip previous resistance into potential support, right? This is a support resistance flip. In the event that you retrace into either one of these blocks that align, either one of these fair value gaps that aligns with this, previous bearish order block, potentially turn into bullish support, that's going to be the level that I'm personally going to be looking at. And again, it's not a coincidence that this lines up around the $119,000 level. So overall, like we have 3 timeframes and like 3 different, kind of analysis points pointing to the fact that in the event that you retrace into either one of these levels, this is going to be super strong support. Again, this is also now becoming your new bullish order block. Assuming that today closes bullish, like assuming today closes above this level right here at 120,000, this now becomes your new bullish order block. And in the event that you retrace into any point of this order block, that is going to be a retracement zone that you look to take advantage of. But besides that, this is the daily fair value gap that we're going to be looking for a retracement. Besides that, like again, the daily bias, because of yesterday's bullish candle close, today is going to be pretty bullish as well. And so today we are going to just look for longs, at least based on the system. Since we are still an intraday trading channel, I'm still going to give you the intraday trading setup. But just real quick, one thing you understand about like where we are at in terms of the overall bull market is that I think you guys are starting to see it now. The alt season is starting. You have a lot of coins, especially altcoins, that are pumping like crazy at the moment. Ethereum, which, a lot of people actually gave up on, is now at like close to $4,500, right? You're very close to the previous all-time high already. And you may be wondering, like, how long is this going to last? Well, one thing's for sure, Q3 has historically been a really good quarter for crypto. So we can reasonably expect this to last, until we get into Q4, which is like October, and even Q4 in general, like for every year. Q4 is actually pretty bullish as well, although a little less than Q3. So assuming that we have the rest of Q3 to take advantage of this, Altseason is very likely to end around October, but we have a bit more room to go past October. Now, don't take this as gospel, because it is near impossible to make long-term predictions, especially when it comes to a market as volatile as crypto. Like a lot of my success and a lot of success of crypto investors has just been, we have a general belief that crypto is going to do well. And so we have bought and hold for, multiple years. And that is how, we get the success. Trying to make predictions on like how long the alt season is going to last or whatever is really tough. No, the only thing to understand is that right now we are just about to enter into a very volatile bullish period in crypto. This is unlikely to last more than a few months. And most importantly, the best way that you're going to be able to take advantage of this is to understand 2 things. Like, you may not believe that Bitcoin deserves to be worth about $1.2 trillion at the moment, but it also doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what the market is showing you. At the moment, we have bullish momentum across every single time frame. And as long as you see that this does not change, you continue to take advantage of this. It doesn't matter how high it goes, as long as it keeps showing bullish momentum, you buy high and you sell higher. Remove that preconceived notion, like wherever you got it from, that you need to be buying low and selling high. The fact of the matter is the opportunity to buy low for you was 2 years ago at the bottom of the bear market, or like back in 2023, right? Now, doesn't matter what you think, like you're already buying high regardless. And at the moment, the mindset that is going to help you take advantage of what is remaining of this bull run is to buy high and sell higher, because the fact of the matter is, it's going to continue going higher. In fact, it's going to go so much higher that you may not even be able, sorry, you're definitely not going to be able to wrap your mind around it. And yeah, as long as the bullish momentum is there, take advantage of it. And secondly, the rest of this bull run is going to belong to the ones that know what they're doing. Because the truth of the matter is that for the investors, the people that actually took advantage of the bear market and the last couple of years to invest into crypto, we are now up like 10x from the bottom. Like, we're good. Even if we take all of our profit right now, like, we're good, right? And so if you're new to crypto, or if you haven't gotten much results from this bull run yet, this final phase of the bull run is going to really belong to the ones that are able to trade the markets, to be able to read the markets. I'm going to use myself as an example at a decent clip, and to be able to take advantage of these momentum trades. Again, the proof is in the pudding. I've made about 120 videos in the last 6 months, and I've been right on about 90 of them. And I don't know if you're going to be able to get these kinds of results as well. And wouldn't you agree that if you were able to do something like this, you would also be able to take advantage of the bull run with at least something to show for it? And I don't want to seem too pushy, but the truth is, you no longer have a lot of time to really sit and wait and do nothing while everything passes you by. If you would like to install a system within the next 30 days that allows you to take full advantage of the bull run, and at least allow you to be able to walk out of the next 2 to 3 months with something really good to show for it, feel free to click the first link in the description box below and book a call for bootcamp, because this is something that works. But anyways, moving back into the lower timeframes, because ultimately we are still an intraday channel, there are 2 levels that you want to look at, right? Like, we've already established the fact that it wouldn't be surprising if we spent the rest of the day just retracing before tomorrow we kind of form the bottom of the week and we pump. But it doesn't mean that today is just 100% going to retrace, because truth of the matter is that yesterday's candle ended up closing bullish, which also means that today you are also going to be looking for bullish trades. And in this case, you have a couple of key levels that you want to look at. One is this family gap, and this family gap right here on the 1 hourly chart. And then of course you have this order block. So Asia has already pumped really high. So London is, I cannot predict what London is about to do, because I'm recording this before the London session, but there are 2 ways that this plays out, right? And I think the most likely way, I'm going to start off with the most likely way, is going to be that London kind of like retraces and consolidates. There's nothing much that's going to happen during London. What you specifically want to look for is for New York to kind of sweep the London low, to either fill in one of these like key levels. I don't know which one's going to be the key level. It's hard to predict. What's important as a trader is to just prepare beforehand and simply read and react. Now, once that happens and you see some kind of lower time frame shift in order flow, in this case, the 5-minute chart is what you want to look for, then that is when you enter. Without that lower time frame shift in order flow, it means that price is just going to like retrace, right? It's just straight up going to be a no trade. But overall, because of yesterday's daily candle and because of today's daily bias, you would still be looking for longs, although not a big long. Again, taking into account the environment that you're trading in. Today we have no news. We do not have news until basically tomorrow. Take today a little bit easier. Ideally even like try to skip today. But if you're going to take a trade today, stick to 2R. Once you get your 2R, get out and, save your ammunition to fire tomorrow. Like, save it for tomorrow when you can fire the big guns. Now, going down into the 5-minute, just to, paint you a clearer picture. Again, this red box here is the Asia range. London is unlikely going to, break much lower. And essentially, you're going to want to look for consolidation. If you feel it, then yeah, New York, you're just going to, go for a little bit of a continuation. London may also just go up and form some kind of manipulation. And then New York, you potentially distribute. However, if we get this type of setup here, while it will match the higher time frame kind of narrative that we've painted out, in the sense that, today could be a retracing day and you're going to form the high of the day, you can short it and you can start going down. Even though this is a very likely possibility, I'm not going to be personally trading this, because a very big part of my system requires me to have time frame alignment before I take any trades. That means that if I'm going to take a short, I want the daily chart to be pointing towards the downside. I want the 1 hourly chart to be pointing towards the downside. And I also want the 5-minute to point towards the downside. Taking a short today would mean that while the 5-minute may be pointing towards the downside, I am shorting into a lot of support from the 1 hourly chart and the daily chart. And so I'm not necessarily going to look to trade the retracement. Like, I'm just going to wait for price to overall fill the retracement areas, and then I'm going to take advantage of the explosive pump that is going to come next. So that is the second scenario that could happen. And the third one is, of course, London trades mostly above the Asia. Like, if you see this, like if you see the, like from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., most of the price action is above the Asia high, or at the very least above the Asia mid-range, then this means that you have potentially a New York continuation. Again, potentially sweep their London low, or just break out and yeah, just continue momentum trading. Momentum trading meaning like with each new order block or favor gap that forms on the 5-minute chart, you can just ride that and just target 2R. again, don't aim for too big of a move. The market condition today is not suited for that type of move. And even if we end up getting a big pump today, again, it's not about the final result. It's more of like, what is the input? How did we come to that decision in the first place? The reason why we're going for 2R today is because we don't have news, and it's unlikely, right? Keyword here, unlikely, to pump really like aggressively. But then even if it does pump aggressively, it doesn't mean that we were wrong. It's like the initial thought process is correct. What happens after is up to the markets, right? Ultimately, trading is a game of incomplete information. We can never be 100% certain about anything, but yeah, just take into account. But overall, like, if I had to put my money somewhere, I'm definitely going to be looking for longs today. I'm going to continue updating this throughout the day on Twitter. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at _the_art_of_crypto. That is where I'm also sharing like some other charts and other trade ideas. And yeah, like, I wish I could give you a clearer call today, but the truth is I'm recording this before the London session has even started. So I think the only thing I can do is to update this on Twitter later on. And for those of you who may be wondering, like, hey, if it's going to be easier to make a call if I just record the video later, why don't I record it later? Well, I'm currently in Hong Kong, and I'm probably going to be doing some things that a tourist would do later on. So I have to record this video a bit earlier today. But anyways, just follow me on Twitter. Whatever trade ideas as it develops, I'm going to be updating it there. And otherwise, yeah, have a good day. Ciao, ciao.